Springwoods Farms. Welcome back out to the channel. I know it's been a couple of months since I put anything out. We've been super busy around the farm getting some jobs done, trying to get my feet on the ground. Bought some new equipment, but the thing we're going to talk about today is sitting behind me. So this is my 2022 Indian Scout Bobber. I just wanted to give you a quick couple 100-mile review and an introduction, and more of really what I think, the likes and the dislikes so far with the bike. I picked it up from Indian in Savannah. It's Savannah Power Sports or Savannah Motorsports. It's not the closest Indian dealer to me. There's only 4 in Georgia. There's one in Macon, Marietta, the Mall of Georgia, and Savannah. There's a couple closer in Carolina, but the experience that I had with Indian in Savannah was just top notch. Chris, the sales guy down there, did a wonderful job. They worked really well with me. I've never financed a bike before. I've always gone on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and bought one, and so far I've been super happy. So, like I said, this is a 2022. I looked at Harley, at the Sportsters. I looked at some of the bigger touring bikes from Harley. I looked at Indian, and ever since I was little, seeing friends that their parents collected older Indian motorcycles, I've been in love with the brand. A quick overview for you for Indian. Indian is the oldest motorcycle company in America. Started in 1901, ran through the war periods, the interwar periods, and then after like 1950 to 1953, they fell on some financial hard times, and they closed out as a brand as we know them. But in 2011, they were purchased by Polaris. Polaris took their engineering and their marketing, and they really put a lot of thought into it. And in 2014, they released their first new Indian, and now we're on 2023, and I'm telling you, Indian hands down, best customer support, sales. They make an excellent bike. They've got beautiful lines. So let's talk about the Indian Scout model. There's a bunch of different Scouts. There's the Scout Bobber, which what this bike is. They've got the Rogue 20, the Scout 60. And there's so many differences that it's difficult to list them all, but really the major difference between the Scout that has a slightly higher riding stance, the Bobber obviously is going to be more of a Bobber model. You've got smaller wheel covers over here, you've got smaller fenders, there's no fairing on the Scouts. You've got a smaller Bobber style seat, and there's a bunch of different seats you can get with the Bobber. We'll cover more on the seat a little bit. The major difference that you're going to see between the Scout and the Scout 60 is the Scout comes with the 69 cubic inch motor. The Scout 60 comes with a 60 cubic inch motor. The Scout itself makes 100 horsepower at the crank. The Scout 60, I want to say, is between 75 and 80 horsepower. The Scout 60 is a 5-speed. The regular Scout, the Scout Bobber, is a 6-speed. Don't get super wrapped around the axles about the difference between 5 gears and 6 gears. If you look at the gear ratio and really where you get into the meat and potatoes of the power of the motorcycle, 1 through 4 is the exact same on both of these bikes. You don't have the Scout 5th gear and the Scout 60. The 5th gear on the 60 is actually the Scout's 6th gear. So you do have a higher range on that where you can still reach some highway speeds. It's just nice on the Scout to have the option of having a 5th and a 6th gear. So riding on the highway, it comes in handy having all of that. And 1 through 4, you need to be really careful how hard you snatch down on it, because this motorcycle wants to throw you right off the back of it. It's just an insane powerhouse on this motorcycle. The bike is liquid cooled versus air cooled. I looked at the Harley Sportsters, and they're averaging 60 to 70 horsepower, and that's on the 1200. This bike being a 69 cubic inch is technically like an 1100 or an 1133 cc. That's splitting hairs. But this 100 horsepower motor on this motorcycle generates more than enough power to get anything done that you want to. It will wrap through the speedometer faster than you need to. The motorcycle weighs in at around 550 pounds wet. That's without you being the rider, obviously. It's a 3.3 gallon tank. You get around 140 to 150 miles to the tank. One thing I personally don't like is there is no fuel gauge on the motorcycle, though there is a warning light that gives you approximately 15 to 25 minutes of warning of, hey, how you're driving, this is how much fuel you've got left. The motorcycle comes from the factory. Every Indian comes from the factory with a battery tender. And from there, what we're going to do is just cover the aesthetics of the bike. All right, so this is just a quick overview of the bike. All of the lights on the motorcycle are LED with the exception of the front headlight that is a halogen, but it's plenty bright. If you would like to, you could talk to your local Indian dealer and you can get the LED with the halo front light, and it's pretty well plug and play. Coming around to this side, you will note down here that your brake reservoir is down here on the brake side. I do love the fact that everything is pretty well matted out and blacked out on this bike with the exception of the valve covers. Those are polished aluminum. Surprisingly, from the factory, the bike comes with a pretty good tone. There's plenty of options aftermarket to get it to open up and to breathe. Back over here to the left-hand side of the bike, it's beautifully badged. It has a locking gas tank. Now we can go over the basic display. It's fairly straightforward, no frills. One interesting thing that it does do is right now we've got it set on RPM mode, and also on the left hand side you can see that it's in neutral. It gives you a gear indicator. We can change over to see what your battery's doing, overall mileage, trip A, trip B, that is resettable, your RPM mode, and that's that. See, we've got over here high beams, low beams, left turn signal, right turn signal. To cancel your turn, you just press that. If you push and hold this for a couple of seconds, it turns into your four-way lights. Cancel that again, you got a horn. Over here we've got the bike off, bike on. Now, unlike other motorcycles where you have to press and hold, Indian's far smarter than we are, so we just have to give it a little tap. And it cranks up on its own, so you don't just have to sit there and hold it. And so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the bike out and let you listen to it run for a moment. Probably 5 or 6 feet away from the bike, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank it up and let it run for just a little bit so you guys can hear it. Major likes that I've got for the bike so far is I love the general overall appearance. I love that these mirrors are reversible, so you can have them upside down, which would be exceptionally helpful if you got the 10-inch raised handlebars. I love that everything is an LED. The overall just fit, finish, and how well they've put everything together. And I love the fact that through Indian you have great support, and anything you can think to do for the bike, you can either do it or they can do it for you. One of the major downfalls that I think is the factory seat. Guys, this factory seat it leaves something to be desired. Now there is a Comfort Plus seat that you can buy, which I think it should come from the factory with. Make sure you do a good test ride for 30-45 minutes, because that's about what these things are good for with these factory seats. If you do the good test ride, then you'll know that you need to upgrade the seat, and they're relatively inexpensive. The back shocks on the motorcycle have a 2.5-inch travel. Now they are adjustable. When you buy the bike, they don't give you the option to have the the tension or the pre-tension set for your motorcycle. You can do it yourself, but I think that when you're spending that much money buying a motorcycle, they should have at least the option from the factory, or not the factory, I'm sorry, but the dealership, to be able to set the pre-tension on the springs for you. And if you were curious, on the Indian Scout Bobber, the distance from the bolts that are on the shocks from point A to point B, tension should be set with you sitting on the bike. It's a pretty straightforward procedure to do, but it's 275 millimeters in between the two. And that kind of coincides with how much you weigh. The dealership should do it for you. If not, when you get your services done, have it set, or you can just use the provided spanner wrench and do so. It rides rough, but I mean, that's all a part of it. If you want the bobber, you're going for the bobber look. Bobbers just ride rough. It can't be negated by changing out the seat, like the springs, or they make aftermarket upgraded springs that give you a little better ride. But then again, guys, you're riding a bobber. You're probably not touring around everywhere on it. But overall, that really covers it. I can't really think of any other negatives that I've got right now. I mean, like I said, I'm not paid by Indian to talk about any of this. So we're going to do some follow-on videos in the future. We'll get some videos of doing some riding, some cruises, so you guys can really see what the open road looks like. I'm going to be doing a video here in the near future about my dealings with Indian of Savannah. Like I said, they're a great dealership, great guys to deal with. They're super cool guys. They'll work with you. It's a bit of a ride from where I'm at, but at the same token, isn't that like the point behind getting a motorcycle? Is enjoy the road. The best thing you can do for me right now is to like, comment, and subscribe. Somewhere in this box, I'll put the subscribe thing. Leave me a comment. Follow what we do. It's helping out the channel. I've got some other equipment that we're going to be reviewing. I picked up a new bush hog. We're doing some other work. I got some videos of that. So just help me follow along. I appreciate your patience. So this has been Springwoods Farm, new bobber. It's a little different content, but hey, figure there's folks out there that like motorcycles. So if you like what you see, give the guys down at Indian of Savannah a call. I'm going to link all their information in the description of the video. To a link to the guy to talk to. Great people. So all right, have a good day, guys.